Hey, hello, and welcome to Talking with Tony. It's Championship Sunday is upcoming, the NFC and the AFC Championship. So I had to welcome back our TWT Chief Football Expert, Danny Arp. We're also going to wrap up the college football season as the national championship was contested a couple of days ago in Atlanta between Notre Dame Fighting Irish and the Ohio State Buckeyes. We celebrated Jake's, our producer's birthday last week. Danny, here's an opportunity for you as we welcome you into the show to tell Jake a little bit of a happy late birthday yourself.
Yeah, late birthday, Jake. Glad, hope you had a great one. I'm sure you probably took it with you. Yeah.
Jake doesn't know it yet, but on March 10th, he's going to have to head to Auburn and be my. Jake does a lot more than just yeah, producing the television show, Talking with Tony. He also handles a lot of shipping and a lot of Venmo stuff for me, like with my books. I got an invite to speak to a pretty prominent book club here on March 10th, about 6 weeks this summer. So since Jake does all that Venmo and handling of the books, I'm going to have him, be with me. Plus, I can't walk into the arena, so to speak, by myself, right, Danny? I got to have some kind of like backup, right?
You always got to have like an entourage follow you around, even though it may just be Jake for now, but it'll grow, your entourage will grow as you
Yeah.
continue to pump out these books.
Hey, don't you love it when Trump walks into like the UFC arena and how he's got like Dana White escorting him in? He's got a group of Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, or whomever, Kennedy
Yeah.
or whomever. Hey, let's get
I
your thoughts
fully,
on. Go
I
ahead.
fully expect you to walk into places like that from now on. Just how he's got just the stoic walk, and the thumbs up here or there. Like he's so glad to see him. He's
Look,
like, I'm meant to be here.
I like the guy, and I got to tell you, the air feels more affordable out there, and we're seeing that we actually have a president. He's visible. He does press conferences. We're on the move. We don't know who was running the country really the last 4 years, but and I like him. And I love Trump's policies. But can we work on that resting face of his, why he's always kind of look like he's so miserable and so mad all the time?
Look, it is funny. I mean, he does look sullen. He's got that. But I think about it. When we get 80 or whatever he is, 88, if I can just get around and do what he does, I'll probably have a funny look on my face as well. But I'll certainly be glad to be kicking, alive and kicking, as Mick Jagger said.
Yeah,
But
it's got to be some form of medication that has not been discovered yet because the guy just goes, and goes.
look, I think I can not sleep a lot, and when I was younger, I really could, man. With my job, when I worked preload when I was younger, I could go 4 hours, 3 hours sleep day after day after day. My wife, kids would be like, "What are you doing?" So I've been trying it now. I'm up here trying to help on the preload up here. And man, I can't do it. I guess the age is catching up. Maybe it's the cold weather. It's freezing around here. And, maybe that's what it is. But I've been, I'm having to get me at least 5 hours sleep now. I know some people think that's crazy, but I mean, I slept 5 hours last night. It seemed like I was out for 2 days.
Well, you are at a job where the weather has really complicated matters. It's hurt scheduling, it's hurt the deliveries, it's put, the drivers can, I mean, I'm sure it gets to them, the stress, the anxieties, and then they want to call it a day and all. So I hope that you're in the process of somewhat catching up. But truth be told, Danny, you all are in that deal of trying to catch up all the time. It's just the work, it's what's in front of you all the time. I mean, people count on you and you're out there doing the best you can.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it was odd yesterday up here with the snow and it sort of shut everybody down. I make it in. I always try to make that like a badge of honor. I'm showing up to a building somewhere, on snow day. So I got in about 5:15 and I was really the only person here. I think I got up to 12 people, at work out of about a 200 at work out of here. And I, it was all day dealing with customers, and when you have that kind of experience, a lot of times you don't really interact right one on one with a customer. But all day yesterday, I'm doing one on one talking to customers. They're in the parking lot raising cane. It's always good. I finally got rid of the one package for this guy yesterday that he was looking for. I found it today, man. I was like, come get it. So I've been doing that for years, man. It always makes me feel good to get those people to package because some of it's just Amazon junk, maybe a best-selling book like 6 Weeks of Summer, or it could be anything, But we got medicine in there, people's paychecks, and it's important, it's big business. So
Tell us about the first day after the snowfall that came in the evening and overnight. You're on your way to, well, let's talk about the previous evening first. But what I was going to say is when you showed up for work, the security guards meet you and go, "Hey, there's
Yeah,
nobody here." And you go, "Well, there's one now." You know,
that's what that was yesterday, man. That's what I'm telling you. I pull up, I crept my way over here. It was about a 14-minute drive to get here, and it took me about 20. Not bad, because I was in a hotel. I pulled up and I slid. I came into the where you turn in the parking lot, and I was getting a little aggressive. I always drive aggressively. And, I put on the brakes a little late and I just right past. I back up, pull in and park. And they're just watching me. It's the most action they had seen all night. Now I
look this
walk up.
clown.
Yeah, like, what is, so I get out and walk in, my backpack on with my computer. He said, "Where you going?" I said, "Into work." She's like, "Nobody's in there." I said, "Well, there is one now. So go ahead and mark down one." I said, "There'll be some more." So it took us till
All
about
right.
noon. Like I said, it was crazy, man. It's a crazy place to work.
Do you mind sharing the story with your exchange with the people at Arby's when they were still open and they had some food, but they were ready to
Yeah.
close up?
Yeah, when you stay in a hotel or you travel with my company, you get a per diem like anywhere else, and it's about $50. Usually you do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I usually do it all at dinner. But so on the way to the hotel, it was so cold, man, after the day before. I was like, man, I said I'd been up since about 2 in the morning and it was about 5:45. I pull in. I said, "There's an Army right by my hotel." And like I told you, in my mind, I was spending $50 at Arby's drive-through. Man, I was going to order everything. I wanted one of every kind of slider they had, beef and cheddar. I wanted curly and crinkle fries. I was going to get that. I had a whole game plan. I pulled up and she said, "Sir, we closed." I was like, "No, you cannot be closed, ma'am. You got to give me." I said, "I know you still got something under the warmer. I don't care how long it's been sitting there. I will take anything you're about to throw in the trash. So you're going to have to leave the drive-through. You can't sit here anymore." I was so mad, man. So then I wound up going to Circle K and I bought all their little deli sandwiches and wraps. I mean, it was just ridiculous. But
You spent over $40 at
I
Circle
spent
K
$40 at Circle K. That's correct. And between potato chips, candy bars, $40 I spent at Circle K on food. That's crazy.
did you get any sugar-free Red Bull?
No, I
Talking
went
about
with
Tony
the no, I
sponsored
went
by
with the
sugar-free Red Bull.
no, I went with the Gatorade extra bio light. There was like
Okay.
extra
Yeah. Yeah.
hydration. So
Yeah. But then you get to your hotel and lo and behold, there's a restaurant right there in your hotel.
yeah, it's right there. If I was just showing up, typically Holiday Inn Express won't have they won't have a full restaurant. You get a breakfast, or they have a little vending area, frozen area. They had a full blown restaurant. I guess that's the perks of being in Atlanta. But um,
And and something tells me there was still food under those warmers at Arby's.
they just threw it in the garbage and left.
Some roast beef sandwiches,
Yeah, I
something
would
was
have
there.
taken anything. That's what I told her. I'll take anything you got. Anyway, it's been a crazy 2 weeks, man. Ever since that first snowstorm, it's just been crazy. But
I had to get Tara up to Atlanta in time to fly out Tuesday before the snow came. I was
you got
grateful that she
lucky.
watched. Yeah, it's grateful she watched the inauguration and the national championship game with me. I'm not gonna exaggerate here. I think Monday was one of the best 5 days of my life. Buckeyes have been knocking on the door, and they win that
Yep.
national championship, and I win the ESPN contest, the college football bracket contest, and that has come with some prizes, which is very nice. In fact, my tiebreaker was the total points was 57,
Oh,
so that
wow.
landed right on it too. That last field goal put that there. So it was just blessed guy, and I was just so happy with the inauguration and everything that went down there, and just a feeling of hope. I've even got, and like this show, of course, leans right, and we have some Democrats that appear on the show, and we don't talk a whole lot of politics on the show, but
Yeah.
it is that time of the year, every 4 years that we have an inauguration. Now, I got to tell you, I've even got a couple of Democratic friends that have told me they're relieved right now because they believe he can help the economy. And I think a lot of people, vote with their pocketbooks and when, they have money. So let's see what they can do. But I will say this, the Republicans right now have the House and they have the Senate. They have 2 years and they better get some things done. They're going to have to go against the legacy media who's going to be telling the people out there how terrible they are all the time because they want them to lose the House and the Senate. That way you can call Trump a lame duck president those last 2 years. So that's the key. What can they get done? And can the people be smart enough to not believe the legacy media? Because I watched the inauguration, Danny, on NBC, and then I recorded ABC and CBS. And I've gone back now and I've watched all 8 hours of coverage on all of them just to see everything that was just a little bit off or a little bit controversial. Trump was blamed for it, criticized for it. There was about 30 seconds of complaining about Biden, what he did in the last 30 minutes of his presidency, really just pardoning family members and January 6 members for crimes that hadn't even come up yet
Hey,
for
look,
investigation.
look, good news. I got a pardon. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know I've got a pardon for me, I think. So I'm feeling good about Biden leaving out like that. You know what I mean?
And he pardoned everybody but
Yeah,
himself.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, I was like,
And,
golly, he pardoned me. What are you doing?
and he doesn't need to do that because, when he was being investigated, the guy said, basically, the judge said something like, well, he's guilty, but he's old enough not to really
Yeah,
understand what was
he
going
didn't know
on.
what he's doing.
So,
No,
so,
listen to me. I don't talk politics on here either. You know what I'm saying? You and I are a lot down. We got a lot in common too. Great friendships, of course, but we split in some ways with our, I
what
guess.
he's telling you is I'm extreme to the right, and he could still work with government back in the old days where it wasn't one side or the
Yeah,
other.
yeah, man. I
He
mean,
could make a
I'm
deal.
a Newt Gingrich. Back when Newt was a centrist type Republican. I mean, he really a balanced budget kind of guy. He
I
was
think the best
conservative.
example is Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan. Tip O'Neill from
Yeah,
Massachusetts and Speaker of the House, and they were always willing to
yeah,
like compromise and give the other one something.
yeah. There you go. There you go. But again, what my point was, Clinton and Newt could get along and get some stuff done. They didn't have to be friends. But I will say this: I feel I like I watch a lot of the other networks. And I always tell you I'm watching all the networks like you're talking about, and I think the feel is I feel like going in this time they're going to at least give Trump a chance to do something and then see what happens. Usually when his first term, and again, not my favorite person in the world. I do think he can do some good stuff for us here. But his first term, you couldn't. It was it was nauseating to watch the coverage. It's just every single thing. He gets Diet Cokes and up there. They turn that into something. I'm like, what? Just stop talking about it. But I feel like you're getting a lot more. Everybody's going to see what they do and sort of cover it the way we used to cover politics, not turning everything into a dramatic hissy
Right,
fit.
right.
So
No,
we'll see how that goes. At least watching TV will be better for the coverage, I feel like. And then to your
uh,
point, I think they'd leave him alone. I think there will be some stuff get done, better than it was. So
yeah, I hope so. We need to get some of that cabinet in because I feel like the country is vulnerable when the cabinet is not in. And I
yeah,
think regardless of whoever's president, I even regrettably said this back when Biden won that you need to approve his cabinet because that's just best for the country for him to,
yeah,
to have it. I mean, we had an acting defense secretary, but until you get that defense secretary, until you get that real secretary of state, that on inauguration day, you're pretty vulnerable to something happening,
yeah.
then too. Of course, Marco Rubio is one of those rare politicians these days who is well respected on both sides of the aisle. So he went through on opening night
Well,
without any issues, 99
and,
to nothing.
and again, I think that's part of, like you said, I'm a little wondering why some of these are taking so long with them having control of the House and Senate, but get the cabinet in. The cabinet he's picked, that some of them are unusual, but they're definitely more towards the center. Some of them are at least respected by both sides of the aisle. And I think it will help if they'll go ahead and get that in. And it's just,
They say Tulsi and Kennedy Jr. would be difficult. These guys were both former Democrats, so you
I mean,
certainly
that's
would
what I'm
want if
saying.
your
Why,
friend is a
why would
Democrat. You certainly
get
want.
them on there and let's see what they can do. Somebody talked to Trump about some of the stuff he says that, obviously he's digging at people. You know what I mean? And being in the corporate world, I get it. I say stuff and make digs at people if I feel like, sort of a constructive criticism type thing. And I'll say some stuff but
Yeah.
he says stuff that he knows is going to ruffle some feathers. And I'm hoping that maybe that these people that he's surrounding himself with will sort of don't rein back the changes he needs to make, but rein back some of that rhetoric he uses.
Well, I think that needs to be Don Jr. because at least Don Jr. has his back, or at least has his ear, really is what I should say about him. Because Don Jr. he he wanted who did Don Jr. want as running mate? He wanted Vance, and that's who he got. So
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it would have been Glenn Youngkin if it weren't for that. Nothing's being said, but I wonder if Vance is the nominee in 4 years if Don Jr. is on the ticket with him. I wonder if they've worked out some kind of deal.
Well,
Nothing's been said, but it wouldn't surprise me at all.
I wouldn't want to see that happen. I'm not these legacy presidents, over and over
Right.
again, keeping the families in place. I mean, I think we ought to change from that. So
I'm
we'll
a
see.
Vivek fan, and I went to school with Nikki Haley before, moving to be where you and I went to school. So I've got some interest in some other ones outside. Hey, I got to get your thoughts on the national championship game. Obviously, I'm pleased. I know in Georgia won back to back, but I'm sure after that first year, you were like, I could live off this for a while. So,
Yeah.
if I had my druthers, of course, I'd rather it be Auburn, but I love Ohio State, and I really went, all in for them as far as those football contests this year, and just getting to know this team over the last 4 or 5 years and going up to games and going to games at Notre Dame and at Michigan to see them playing at Wisconsin. So it was very satisfying to see them finally win it all.
Well, it's pretty bad, though, as your buddy and your sports analyst and your longtime pal. I didn't even text rats, but I'll say that on live on air here.
Yeah,
But
that works.
yeah, it's a great win for you. If you went back and looked after the Michigan loss, if anybody would have said, hey, they're going to be the national champs, you would have probably laughed your head off. I think you knew they had the team all year. And I knew that Georgia's team was not as good as the other teams we had. I thought Kirby really did one of the best coaching jobs ever. And if it weren't for Ryan Day coming back and winning the national championship, I would have said Kirby was coach of the year, even though he didn't make it. Because
Schedule was
what he worked
incredibly
with, it was
difficult.
phenomenal. Those wins he pulled off,
Hmm.
all of them tied, a couple of overtime games. It went deep in
Hmm.
overtime.
They're
It was impressive. But Ryan Day, what he did finally getting over the hump, I didn't think he could do it, man. I did not think he could do it. I know I picked him on the last one because I thought, hey, but it was impressive, and I was glad to see his reaction. The emotional reaction there probably killed somebody that headset, but watching him.
they'll be want to fire him for real. It's gonna be 5 years.
I mean, he's got to get over the hump now. Hopefully, he can take what he did here, winning the national championship, and propel him to get in curse, and he could get his own back-to-back dynasty going.
Yeah, there's too many. Defense wins football games, as you know, and there is this studs: Ty Hamilton, Jack Sawyer, JTT, Cody Simon. There's just too many holes to fill. They are really thin on the defensive line right now. They're going to need to, get the transfer portal and get some defensive linemen.
It should have thinned out their NIL budget a little bit with all those people leaving.
Well,
They could backfill the right defense, and I don't know for sure that I think does win championships, but it's not all about that now. If it would have been
no,
Kirby, I mean, Kirby had the last 2 years great defensive squads, subpar offensive performance for Georgia, and they didn't make it. I mean, with this new playoff thing, I think it's going to be tougher than you think just to ride a defense all the way through because the offense
you're
is
right.
just too good.
You're right because Georgia's defense is more talented than Ohio State. Statistically speaking, Ohio State's better, but Ohio State doesn't have anybody on that team that is like a Starks
No.
or a Stackhouse or even like a Warren Brinson on the
But,
defensive line.
yeah.
Who's the Walker kid? I mean,
Walker,
the Walker
yeah.
kid is an incredible football player. I am forgetting one at Williams. I think
Yes.
Mikael Williams is how you say his name.
Mikael Williams.
Those guys, all of them, I think I just named five of them, are better than anybody but Caleb Downs on that Ohio State defense. And Caleb's got one more year. I hope he remains at Ohio State this year.
Yeah.
These days of free agency, you never know where they might end up going year to year.
Look, I personally think that we're going to have that little run like we did, when Urban Meyer was at Florida, then he rolled right into Ohio State not too long after. Where offense is the dominating factor, right? I mean, when you see what Georgia did to Texas 2 times, they ramped up the defense so hot that there was just nothing Texas could do. But it's hard to sustain that at all times, right? It's hard to go and play I hate it that it was Notre Dame, but go and play a team like Notre Dame that had a running quarterback that he can disrupt what you do on the defensive line when you have a quarterback that can do that RPO as good as he was doing it. And you saw it when we played Tech. You saw it when we played Notre Dame, obviously. And I think that you obviously got to have a great stellar defense, and both Georgia, Ohio State do. And Notre Dame had a great defense this year too, as well. But I think offense is where it's at for a little while, man.
You could be right on about that. UGA, who had some issues with wide receivers dropping balls and all, have already addressed that by bringing in Thomas from Texas A&M, and more specifically Branch from Southern Cal, who's about the fastest player that I've seen in college football the last couple of years. So I
Yes,
think,
sir.
yeah, I think Georgia's addressed that. Hey, will you want to ready to pick these conference championship games?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Let's open up in Philadelphia with the NFC Championship game going on. The Eagles, Danny, they're so hard to beat in Philadelphia. They've had injuries, and Jalen Hurts has been banged up, and the Rams gave them a game. The Rams really made them earn it in the divisional round of playoffs. But Washington, they went on the road and they looked fabulous, and they're getting 6 points. Now, I personally believe the Eagles win this game. I don't really have a I don't really have a call on the game. I think that's hard on the point spread. How do you see the NFC Championship game?
Well, again, to your point, what Washington has done is just outstanding. I mean, and to go in there and beat Detroit. I mean, did anybody think that was going to happen? I mean, no. I mean, obviously you thought there was a chance, but I mean, realistically, the number
Right.
one seed, you didn't think that was going to happen. Going in and doing it at their house. But Dan Quinn, great story for Dan Quinn coming in here. Making the NFC Championship. You would think that the team is riding high too. They're not going to be satisfied getting this close to the Super Bowl, getting that monkey off their back finally and making it. But unfortunately, just like we were talking about the Georgia defense of old, the Eagles defense stacked with a lot of Georgia players is incredible. And they got to face the Eagles. I think I feel like they've been one of the best teams, or the best team in the league myself all year. You got great QBs on both sides, but I do think that the defense for the Eagles, combine it with the Saquon Barkley rushing, he put up a lot of rushing yards in both games that they've played already this year. I think it's like 300 yards almost, right?
hmm
If
Now,
he gets that going, I think Barkley, they're just going to pull away. It'll be close, but I think they'll pull away, hopefully, by a touchdown or more in the fourth quarter. I'm going Philadelphia Eagles -6.
yeah, can you spell Eagles? The mayor of Philadelphia
E
has a little bit of a
G
problem.
EGGLES. Let's go, Eagles.
About that.
Is that
That
not
is
how you
just
spell it? I never really knew how to spell it, but she spelled it for me. So that's got to be what it is, right?
but she went with it too. Like she was
Oh,
still
she
trying to
wrote it.
sell it.
Give me
Yeah.
a G.
We say that's insane a lot. I'm talking with Tony. That was insane.
It's
Okay, that
easy
was
to make a slip up, though. You get out in front of a crowd, but I do think it's unfortunate that everybody's going to be making fun of her forever. But
like we're doing here on Talking with Tony. Everybody agrees with you on the panel except for Kevin, and that's probably a good thing because Kevin's 89 and 105 on the year and just completely faded. He's got Washington +6. I do want to ask you this, and I love CJ Stroud, and he was so deserving of the Rookie of the Year last year. He just didn't throw any interceptions. I mean, it was incredible. But is Daniel's rookie season this year as good as any you can remember, especially from a quarterback in the NFL?
you'd have to say yes. I mean, especially considering what he's going, what he's. I'm not saying he's working with a bat, but he went into a situation right that uh, nobody really expected this, and look where we are. It's just amazing. And if he wins this thing, unbelievable. But I always like Jalen Hurts, even what he did to me in the championship game against Georgia. But I, Jordan, my brain's fried, dude. Daniels has been outstanding, man, and I'd like to see him have a great game. But I just hope that defense. And what they sacked, Philadelphia sacked. They had like 8 sacks last week, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of like you said, a lot of those Georgia guys for sure contributing and that some of them you don't even see full time.
No,
I'm out there. I'm looking for Jordan Dave. I'm looking for different members of the team, and they're my favorite UGA defender the last like 5 years is Nicole B. Dean, and I hate that he's injured because I think he was the all around guy at UGA, like high into academics too,
it's
and just
fantastic.
just a good dude. All right, so folks, Danny likes the Eagles,
Yep.
-6. Now, you're 5 stars in the AFC Championship game. Is that correct?
That is my 5 star. Yes.
You and I believe are going to be on different sides because you're going to Kansas City's favored by 1.5, and if memory serves me correct, you're on Mahomes and the Chiefs, correct?
You are correct. My,
Okay,
I got, before we get into this though, I just got to ask you a question
sure.
about last week's game.
Oh, the
Why,
hits,
huh?
the
Just
hits.
all of it, the whole thing. Was it last week or the week before? I'm so messed up.
It
Why
was
in the
last.
world? Why in the world did they run out of bounds for that safety? Can anybody explain that? Why did they punt that ball?
Uh, Maybe they just didn't want to, give up a short field and
You
a
think that's what it
touchdown.
was?
Yeah, touchdown. I mean, it was something that you used to see a little more often than you do now, and certainly because it came down on the number. Absolutely,
That's
people
what
were
I'm
asking.
saying, man. It makes no sense, man. I mean, if that would have been me on that one, I would have lost my mind on that, man. I
Maybe
feel
they knew
sorry
they'd
for those
got.
people.
Maybe they knew they'd gotten away with calls during the course of the game and decided they wanted to give 2 more points back to their opponent. Maybe.
They were like, it wasn't fair for the people that picked us, to cover since we
Yeah.
got so many breaks with these fake penalties. I don't know. That just
Um,
blew my mind, man. I couldn't believe it. All right, so let's get back to the pick.
And I
So
do want to say,
Buffalo,
and I do want to say this. Four of the five of us, because I have my only NFL pick in this game. Four of the five of us have a 5 star pick in this game. John,
okay,
who is 101 and 93 and has put the title from the panel away, his 5 stars, the Eagles -6. So he agrees with your selection. But as far as 5 stars go, the other four of us that pick games here on the show are all involved in this game.
okay. What was my 5 star record again? It's been abysmal.
Yeah, I wasn't going to bring it up. It's 7-12. But if you get
Golly, dude.
but if you get this, you'll be up to 40% though. If you win this one.
As good as the Biden administration. All right, so Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen, we got them going at it again, right? Fourth time in 5 seasons. This seems to be like if you were watching, you would think you were watching a rerun. But here we go. So you're going to think the Bills are going to get it done. I know it sounded like what you're going to do. You also would probably think the Bills are going to get it done. But
Yeah.
I'd like to hear how you justify it. It's 3 losses in a row, right?
Hmm.
Mahomes, whether it's referees, whatever you think, he figures out a way, finds a way, manufactures a win, the refs help, whatever, but they always win. It seems to me, especially in these high pressure situations. He and Andy Reid figure out a way to make it happen. The other thing is they've got their legacy on the line right here. No NFL team has ever won 3 in a row, right?
Hmm.
This will be the first time. And if you think those two competitors aren't going to go in there and give every single thing they got to do that, and I know that Buffalo looks great. Josh Allen has looked fantastic. And, I can see where you would do it. It's a pick 'em anyway. Vegas got it as a pick 'em almost. It's up to 2 now, I think, but it started out
Yeah.
not there.
Right.
And at home, you got to figure that's a pick 'em. You know what I mean? Playing out there. But I'm
I
still
just
going with them. I'm still going with them. My 5 stars, Kansas City Chiefs, man. Give me Mahomes.
I'm going with Buffalo Bills, and I think that there won't be any funny business in this game because the referees have been under so much scrutiny from what happened in the divisional playoff game against the Texans.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't see how that continues on. I think they're under the microscope, for real. And I think Buffalo has proven me wrong. I liked the Ravens last week to beat them. I don't believe I picked it in the contest, but I did like them. I thought, having Derrick Henry, I thought the weapons for the Ravens were better offensively. Shakir is a great receiver out of Boise State for the Bills, though. And
Oh,
when
yeah.
healthy, Dalton Kincaid, the tight end, is wonderful catching tight end. I just, yeah, you're right. The Chiefs have that goal that other teams have just not been able to obtain, and it's within reach clearly. And
It's right there.
it kind of reminds me of about 2 days before the Super Bowl. It's Super Bowl with I think it was the Super Bowl with the Chiefs in Tampa. And I was at Publix, and the grocery stores, they'll get the football teams, little balloons of the teams playing, to sell for $3 or $4 or whatever that week before the Super Bowl. And I was in line next to this little girl, and she had a little football like balloon in Publix, and she's probably 4 or 5, so cute. And I said, "Are you excited about the Super Bowl?" And she looked at her mom and she says, "What's the Super Bowl?" I jumped in there and I said, "The Super Bowl is an annual football contest that features Tom Brady, a terrible halftime show, and overused commercials, overpaying too expensive." But I think now I have to adjust that and say the Super Bowl features Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City
Yeah.
Chiefs. Versus with all their success. I thought the 49ers should have beat them last year in the Super Bowl. We wouldn't even be having this discussion about three in a row. But I am on Buffalo. I want it for the Buffalo sports fan. It won't do the players that lost those 4 Super Bowls in a row any good. And I hate that they're mocked and made fun of because, as I've said on Talking with Tony before, there are very few players that ever played in the National Football League that wouldn't have wanted the opportunity to play in 4 consecutive Super Bowls. And being the AFC champion 4 straight years means something to me. You may not have won Super Bowl, but you were AFC champions
Yep.
4 straight years. But it's been heartache for the Bills and the fans, and there's been a lot of heartache for the Bills fans, and Mahomes is part of that reason. Now they've had some success also against Mahomes, but so is the Bengals, and
Yeah.
at times. But he's usually the one is the last one standing, and he's usually the one that's in that Super Bowl. But yeah, I think the Bills are going to get them this time, and I will not be upset if I'm wrong because I like a lot of what Chiefs ownership and those players stand for, and I'll call me a fan of a lot of what goes on with that organization from the Hunts on down. So I'm going with Buffalo, and it's my 5 star because it's my only selection. Stormy agrees with me. That's good at times. He can be hot, and at times he can't be. So that's crazy that he's 97 and 97, 8 and 11 with his 5 stars. Let me run down everybody's picks, and I'll begin with giving you a soccer game on Saturday. Bayern Munich, who just lost, played terrible against a Dutch team in the Champions League yesterday and lost 3-0. We're going to get them to rebound against Freiburg. Bayern Munich's going to have to win this game. Bayern Munich's minus a half a goal, and 15-8 in soccer, doing very well. In football, I'm 40-39, 9-9 with my 5 stars. I'll go with the Buffalo Bills plus 1.5. Since I've already told you Stormy's on the Bills, he's 97-97, 8-11 with his 5 stars. He's got the Eagles -6, and his 5 star pick is the Buffalo Bills plus 1.5. John is 101-93. He's going to be our champion as far as the panel goes. He's 10-9 and 5 stars. He's a University of Georgia graduate, so we can be happy for that. His 5 stars, the Eagles -6, and he's got the Kansas City Chiefs -1.5. So he's on Danny's side. Also on Danny's side is not in the first game. Kevin's 89-105. Ooh, Kevin. He is, however, improving on his 5 stars. He's up to 9-10 on his 5 stars. He's got Washington +6, but he goes with his 5 star this time, the Chiefs -1.5. And then there's Danny. And, Danny's 93-101. He's faded a little bit here lately, 7-12 in the 5 stars. You might have missed it, but his first pick was the Eagles -6, and the 5 star selections, Kansas City Chiefs -1.5. Give us a key to Buffalo winning that game from you, Danny. What would need to happen in that game? They need to turn over Mahomes. They need to get an interception or two from him.
I don't think so. I think what the key to it is Josh Allen's play. Just like in the game they beat him, he was outstanding. He's going to need some yards on the ground to help keep the chains moving. He's obviously capable of doing that. I think his passing game will be right where you need, but I think the rushing yards by Allen will be the key if Buffalo wins.
Okay. I will say this. I haven't heard this mentioned any before, and we often still refer to Washington as the Redskins because they had that great helmet, and there was the Redskins and the Cowboys were the rivalry. Redskins
Oh, yeah.
and Commanders and Cowboys just didn't do anything. But imagine if Washington and Kansas City both won Sunday, and it was the Redskins and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I hadn't heard that mentioned anywhere else, but that'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? That'd be all kind of protest, I'm sure.
I can't even. I mean, I'm not going to say it. Obviously, I don't want to, but it would be crazy. That would be nutty. I mean, a couple of good storied programs, one of old and who's really dominated as of late. But I mean, come on, whatever, man. Redskins and the Chiefs would be fantastic.
I wish the Commanders would at least wear the Reds if they make it to the Super Bowl. And like we all expect the Eagles to win, but
Yeah.
if they were to make it to the Super Bowl, I wish they'd wear those throwbacks of Washington. You remember the Rams in that Super Bowl in Atlanta against the Patriots about 4 or 5 years ago? They actually wore their throwbacks from
Yeah.
like the 70s, early 80s. It was a beautiful look.
Yeah, look great. I wouldn't mind seeing the whole Super Bowl being a throwback uniform thing. That would be outstanding. No
Next
matter
week,
who
I'm going
plays.
to Next week, I'm going to welcome Daniel back to discuss the Oscars with us. He's our movie critic and he's certainly expert. He's in Texas these days. He lives in Texas. But Danny, I got to have you back in 2 weeks to talk Super Bowl. We'll either revisit some more of the halftime performances, and we talked about some of those last year, or some of the commercials. One thing we got to air back is that Jake will have to find it, the Cindy Crawford commercial. Got a lot of feedback
Yeah.
about that last year, and that might be worth coming back there if you. That was such a great moment, and Jake, as you were describing it, Jake just had it timed perfectly. It was one
He
of those
did.
moments in TWT history that's going to live on forever. Classic moment.
That was a good show. I enjoyed doing that and enjoyed going back and watching all the commercials, sort of prepping for the show. So we got to come up with something good for the next Super Bowl pre-show, and it'll get us fired up again.
And we'll talk
We need to
Stones in
revisit that commercial. Yeah.
we'll talk Stones in 2 weeks too, because it made me, I was riding down the road yesterday and Under My Thumb came on. Man, I love that
There
song.
you go, man. Let's go. I know you
Yeah,
gotta love it.
I really.
My latest one I'm on. Anybody, your fans, I know it's about over here, but since you brought it up, I'm never going to pass up on the Stones combo. But the latest one, Get Exile on Main Street Deluxe Edition, their double album. They actually threw on some, never released,
Oh wow.
on record hits. And my favorite one is Pass the Wine. So anybody wants to hear a good song one night, Friday night, about the time you open your first beverage, crank up Pass the Wine. And I referenced that earlier. And Mick Jagger will make you feel good about being alive and kicking.
And check out my favorite one. There's an acoustic version on YouTube of As Tears Go By, and it's from, I don't know, 10 or 11 years ago, but that song goes back to the 60s. Danny, I really appreciate you taking the time to do the show with me today.
Yep, I had a blast again, man. This was the calm in my day today. So fantastic.
All righty. For Danny Arp and for Jake Barton, who's producing for us, and I certainly appreciate him. We still going to celebrate his birthday on for another week or so. I'm Tony Jones. We'll see you next time right here on Talking with Tony. My guest will be Daniel Cummins. We'll talk Oscar movies.